Hello everyone, welcome to the another series of this video. Well, in this particular video we'll be talking about XSS, or you can say that cross-site scripting. So for the setup we are using the same environment which we are using in the previous videos. That is, here I am running Windows 7 with the particular vulnerable application, that is DVWA, and my attacking machine will be Kali Linux. So first of all, what is XSS or cross-site scripting? So cross-site scripting is basically a vulnerability that is found in certain web applications and which enables the attackers to inject certain scripts or certain client-side scripts into the web pages to view any of the information which the attacker is not permitted to. So we'll be using the same server for attacking. Now, here we have different types of attacks. Like the very first one is the XSS reflected attack, and another one is XSS stored attack. So in XSS reflected attack is, suppose we have some parameters or the input objects in our web application. So what we'll be doing is, we'll be passing up certain scripts or certain malicious code to that particular web application so as to fetch out the data which we are not permitted to. And in reflected XSS, there is nothing like it will be stored up into certain databases. But whereas in stored XSS, the command and the script which is executed will be stored up inside the database, so as whenever we log in, we no need to make that attack happen again and again. Simply we can fetch out the data, or we can fetch out the malicious script directly from our database. So let's see how to do that things. So now let us suppose that this particular is a genuine page, a legitimate page. So what we are going to do over here is, this is our input object where a user can pass up certain information. So let's try with it. The very first information which I'll be passing up is my name. Okay, so it is saying that this particular script is executing on the back end, and it is saying hello, and then it will prompt whatever the string which is passed up here. Now, instead of passing that particular string, what we are going to do is, we'll be passing a certain script and we'll try that if that script is being executed or not. So the very first initial script to test a particular web application is vulnerable with XSS or not, we'll be passing a script, a basic script. That is script, and we'll be alerting. That is, alert is nothing but a pop-up message. It will pop you up and we'll say hello. Shake. And then we'll be closing that script. Okay, so it is working perfectly. Like, as you can see that we are getting the pop-up message like hello Abhishek. So instead of printing that thing over here, it is just popping up the message. So this makes out that our particular application is vulnerable with cross-site scripting. That is, we can execute any of the script if we pass certain parameters over here. So now let's see what all things we can do if certain application is vulnerable with cross-site scripting. Next thing what we'll be doing is we'll be inspecting what all things is there inside this particular element. Okay, so what we have done over here is we have defined the size attribute over here for this particular element. Now we'll try to fetch out certain information. Like suppose I am accessing this particular website from suppose certain remote location, and I am having the full administrative rights. I am the admin of this particular website, and I am accessing it from some remote location. So what I want is, if as being an attacker, what I'll do is I'll try to grab up the certain cookies from this website. So to do that, we'll be using certain scripts. Let's say if we use the same script also, it will work. That is script, and we'll be alerting this particular session cookies. Document dot cookie. So let us try to execute this script, that if it is executing or not. So if we are passing up document.cookie, so it is not a particular string, so no need to require for giving the double quotes for that. So let us try to execute that. Okay, as you can see that we are getting this particular cookies, the session ID and the cookie. So now this is how we can just grab up the cookies. So now let us see that what all further things we can do and how this particular attack can be vulnerable. What all major disasters it can cause up to your website. So now, before moving to further, we'll be setting up certain scripts to log the cookies and the session IDs. So first of all, let me just start up a local server. Okay, so my server has been started. As you can see, it is running. Now let us just take the control for the process. Okay, so as you can see that these all processes are running with the www.data user permissions, and the next thing what we are going to do is we'll be making a log directory into the Apache server. So to do that, we'll be making a directory. Let's name it a common name, that is log directory. Now we need to run this particular log directory with the same permissions of www data. So we'll be owning it with chown www data, and the user will be www data. So after making the log directory, what we are going to do is we are having a script that is logit.perl script. So we'll be owning that script with that particular user and the group permissions. Okay. As you can see now, this particular script is running with this particular permissions. Now the next thing what we'll be doing up is we'll be giving certain permissions to our log directory. So to give the permissions to our log directory, what we are going to do is we'll be changing the permissions . Okay, so now our everything has been configured correctly. So now let us see how we can perform the attack. Okay, now to simulate the attack, what we are going to do is again we'll go to our reflected cross-site scripting, the vulnerable web application, and here again we'll be inspecting up the elements, and in the same manner we'll be adding up a new attribute that is size, and the value I can give 100. So you can see that. Now we'll be running up a small script inside it, and we'll be passing up our Kali Linux IP where we have set up our local server to log that particular session IDs and cookies. So let me just quickly find out what's my IP. So this is my particular IP, the local IP address which I am getting. So here I will be putting up a script, that is script, and then in that document dot remote location, so what this will do, it will write the session IDs and the cookies into the remote location file. Remote location equal to http / and I'll put up that IP, the local machine's IP, and in that CGI bin and then logit.pl. And in logit.pl, what we'll be passing up as the argument is, that is document dot cookie. And then we'll be closing this particular script. Now let us try to run this. And now let's try to open up our local IP. Now as you can see that if we try to open up our local IP with this particular URL and this session ID which we received from our last lab, so we can see that we are easily redirected to this particular page using the same session IDs and the cookies without even passing any of the authentication or any other thing. We are logged in via admin. That is because of the same session IDs used up by the admin to log into that particular same web application. So this is how you can trigger up your XSS if you are penetrating some of the websites, and you can, instead of performing this type of attacks, you can just use any sort of malicious mechanism and you can just test it up. So this particular tutorial is just for the security purpose only. So now as you can see that we are running a log file of the IP address and the cookie security settings of that particular session ID of the legitimate user. So this can be a pretty scary stuff. So instead of performing it into the real environment, You can use it for good stuff, for just for testing and just for the security purpose. So well, this was all about the reflected XSS. In the upcoming video, we'll be seeing up the stored XSS also. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Thanks for watching.